One of the things to lead is to make sure that you don't forget to listen. And so many times going into new situations, whether it was going from agency, consultancy to a corporate to now a nonprofit world, is going in and doing some fearless listening first so you can lead effectively.
Hi, I'm Melanie Barr. Welcome to the She Built It Experience with Melanie. You're here because you want to experience the life and business that you crave. Join me as I talk to women who have successfully built it, a career and business that they love. We dive into the topic of how they built it and talk about everything from having the courage to make career leaps to the details of how to lead effectively, create successful teams, implement strategies for growth, and infuse tech innovation. Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. So let's dive in. Barri Rafferty is a visionary leader who was the first woman to run a top 5 communication consultancy as CEO of Ketchum and led communication and brand management for Wells Fargo. She is currently serving as the interim CEO for C200, an organization dedicated to advancing women in business and providing strategic consultancy support to several CEOs of startups and mid-sized companies. Thank you for joining us, Barri. You were the first woman to run a top 5 communication consultancy as CEO of Ketchum. How did that accomplishment feel for you, and what advice do you have for women navigating their roles within a company and staying motivated to reach for more?
Thanks for having me today. It's so good to have these discussions. And interestingly, I have to say, when they were about to announce my becoming CEO and putting first woman in the headline, I don't want that, because I felt like I had earned it for being a leader, whether I was male or female. And then interestingly, around me, a lot of the women said, no, but it's so important that we mark this moment. I did give in to that being part of the story. The key for me is set your goals high early on. And I also encourage a lot of women to opt in to run profit and loss, P&Ls. I actually moved to Atlanta, ran the Atlanta office before taking on New York and then the US and a global role. So many women I saw as consultants and other things, they're great in client service and sometimes they're more comfortable there. And I would say to them, you're running a big client, you're running a balance sheet, it's basic math. So I would just say too, as you think about your ultimate goals, to get out of your comfort zone, stretch yourself and try new things along that journey. And many times you can do it in a company like I did at Ketchum, where I was a long time and really learn along the way.
I love that. And you paved the way for women to look at you and say, if she was able to do it, I can do it too. And so many women have left the workforce and it's shifted throughout COVID. So I love hearing you say that.
We built in early on when I was at the agency side, and you're seeing more and more of it now, is flexibility for women. And I often call it, I don't love the term work-life balance. I like to think of it as work-life integration. But truly everyone, male or female, different lifestyles, need that. Sometimes you have a doctor's appointment or you need to run out, and we were talking about go to a kid's game or recital or something. And there's nothing that says we can't build that into our life and still get work done. And even in a client service business, we were able to shift and support each other and support our clients. That how we look at that moving forward is going to be more important to keeping women in the workforce.
And you're so right. Self-care is so important so we can show up as our best selves. And if someone decides to have a family, they shouldn't have to choose between should I have a family and should I continue to grow in my career? So I agree. It's so important to look at company cultures and sustainable company cultures and see how we can continue to cultivate that for women.
Definitely. Today, creating this culture of belonging where people can really bring their full selves to work. Sometimes I'm empathetic. We go through tough things in life. And if you can be more vulnerable at work and leaders can be more empathetic, you're seeing that go a long way toward managing through what we've gone through the last 2 years, but also the expectations of this next generation moving forward.
So true. And we all go through things. Some days we're going to show up and power through a full day. Other days, life happens.
There's no doubt about it.
You believe that your superpower is that you are equal parts right brain and left brain. Share with us why and how has that helped you in your career?
For me, developing both has been critical. Today, as you look at technology and analytics, and in marketing, a lot more around personalization and data. That actually can drive creativity if we embrace both. We can be more strategic in our creative. We can look for more creative solutions and be more innovative. To me, I really have worked hard to develop both sides of the brain, and that comes in handy as a leader, and also respecting people that might be really far on the creative side and managing the creatives or the financial side, because it gives you respect for kind of both approaches as well.
There's the surface analytics, and then there's the deeper analytics. And you're right. When you look a little deeper, it could motivate you for more and to go farther than just looking at the surface data. And I started out as an accounting major, and I love that part and the numbers. But then the company I was working for said, we want you to do the audit. And I spent days and days and days looking at spreadsheets. And I thought, I'm a social person. I also need to be social. I like the numbers side and I like the analytical side, but I need the social aspect too. It's great that you cultivated both.
One of the things too, as you look back, I don't know that when you went through all of your education, you really thought about being a learner through life. But as you talk about, you were asked to do an audit, you were asked to do new things. We've been talking about stretching yourself, continuing to learn. And I think the world today is changing. Right now I'm learning a lot about AI and how that's going to impact the business and consulting and the work that I'm doing these days. So I think you can never stop.
You're so right. The amount of information we have at our fingertips today, it's just incredible. And the speed at which things move too.
Yeah. Staying current is critical.
In your leadership role at Ketchum, and also when you led brand management strategy for Wells Fargo, what do you believe are the most important elements of a successful leader?
One of the things to lead is to make sure that you don't forget to listen. And so many times going into new situations, whether it was going from agency, consultancy to a corporate to now a nonprofit world, is going in and doing some fearless listening first so you can lead effectively. As a leader, you have to be able to bring out the best in others and create followership. And sometimes that means being more trusted than liked, which was something hard for me. Growing up in the South as a Southern woman, I always felt like, you wanted to be liked. And what I learned over the years is if people trust you and they understand why you're making decisions, they might not like everything that you're doing, but they can respect you. And so I think trying to earn that respect, trying to cultivate talent, coach them and help them be their best selves, but also take the time to listen before you're decisive and make decisions are all things I try to really make sure I think about as a leader.
That's so true. And I remember moments when I was in a leadership role and I thought, this is the best for the organization. I'm not sure everyone's going to like it, but as long as I focus on what is best for the organization going forward, you're so right. It does bring that trust.
Not always easy, though.
When a company or personal brand is evaluating how to market and brand their products, what are a few things you would advise them to think about when marketing to clients?
It's such a cluttered marketing landscape that you really have to hone in on what is most differentiating about your product or service, and then really be consistent in how you deliver that message. I've seen a lot of brands, they try to be something to everyone, and it's very difficult. Today, we just don't have very much of an attention span. So really thinking about creative visuals and storytelling and ways to engage and personalize content is becoming more and more important for a brand to stand out. So taking the time a little bit back to that, analyzing the data, understanding how people perceive your brand, what you want to stand for, and then strategically targeting that creative outreach, that combination is going to make more and more of a difference today.
And that's such good advice because our attention span is 3 to 5 seconds today. And we're constantly being inundated with, do this, this will grow your brand. You have to be doing this. It's just so many options that you are so right in staying focused, getting really clear on who the target is and sticking to that really will make someone stand out in the marketplace.
And being consistent and sticking with it is hard because we get bored with our own messaging sometimes. And I always say to clients, when you're bored, keep going. And when you are truly, truly sick of it, keep going because it takes a long time to embed the message into those audiences. So it's a little bit like a political campaign. You're on that stump speech and you got to go and wind it up and wind it up. And that's sometimes hard for those of us that like the creative and to reinvent things all the time.
Such good advice. And I'm going to think about this the next time I start to get bored. As someone who has built a career building and amplifying brands, what advice do you have for companies, either large, small, or personal brands, for how to evaluate brand position?
You have to really look at the competitive set and whether right now I'm working with C200, that's a women's nonprofit, really supporting business and entrepreneurial women. That used to be kind of a rarity. And now there's a lot more competitors in that space. So we're thinking about how do we differentiate? How do we target profit center leaders? How do we make sure as a nonprofit that even there we're thinking? And then I'm working with a value-based healthcare brand in a totally different set. It's taking the time to watch the changing landscape, make sure your positioning is very clear and crisp and memorable. And also, one of the things I would say I've been working with a lot of clients with lately is very simple language. Sometimes we get into our jargon world and every company you join and you're nodding your head has their own speak, and they think that resonates outside, and it doesn't always. So I also really try to think about clarity and simplicity and memorable messaging.
Tell us a little more about C200. What is the mission behind the organization?
C200's mission is to inspire, educate, support, and advance women and entrepreneurial profit center leaders and help those that are building businesses get up to 20 million or more, and how hard that is. So we're working with a lot of starting companies to try to get them to that next level. And then really also working to help people get into either the C-suite and a CEO role or large P&L roles in big organizations. There's a lot of coaching, peer-to-peer mentoring, creating a real community and a network, and a lot of our advancing women programs to take those women that have made it to C200 and lift up those behind them to have more members. It's been very fulfilling to be part of that organization. And I'm the interim CEO right now as they search for a new CEO. I'll go back to my next role in branding and communications, but it's really been a great bridge for me and something that's mission driven and really nice to give back to this past 6 months.
And I love hearing that, especially in today's landscape, that you're inspiring women to reach for more.
We need more role models. We're seeing that. We also need more diverse role models. We're really trying to make sure that we represent the diversity today. But there's just a lot more opportunity for women. And it's been hard going through COVID. You're seeing more and more women kind of opting out of that path the last couple of years, trying to really understand that and how to support them and help them on their career journeys.
Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. What is one way that you make sure to find and live your joy each day?
I love that question. Some of it starts with your own self-care, and you mentioned that before. I did my yoga this morning. I try to either get outside. I'm lucky I live like 10 minutes from the sound, and I can get out by the water and the woods a little bit. So for me, it's just finding that time to breathe and get stress release and ground myself for the day. We talk a lot about simple acts of kindness, but sometimes it's being kind to yourself and others and just taking a moment each day to say, what have I done to support others or support myself? And being grateful for those little things to me is just always really important and makes me feel better and smile at the end of the day.
I love that you say supporting others and also supporting ourselves. The busier we become, whether it's in our career and family or with our family, the harder it is to take that time and to put ourselves first. But we do show up as our best selves when we do that.
Yeah. One thing that's good that came out of the last 2 years of being home more, because I used to just travel every week and was balancing, the kids, and I go from this to that, and getting a little more sleep and a little bit more ability to get up in the morning and do the self-care. Now, even as we're getting busier and traveling again, I'm finding more ways to do a walking meeting or get outside, even if it's like your earpieces are in while you're doing something, is to just try to make sure you don't cut that time out where you're back in an office sitting there all day long, because you feel the difference physically. It's amazing.
You have built an incredible career, and thank you for being on the mission to inspire women. Please tell us how and where we can find you.
I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, Barri, Barri Rafferty. You can find me under my name in all of those places.
Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me at hello@shebuiltit.com, on our She Built It website, or at She Built It on social. Thank you to my editor, Rich Streffolino, who always makes us sound good. Until next time, let nothing stop you from experiencing the life and business that you crave.